Hello, and welcome to the ProjectWise Administrator Advanced Accreditation course on the iModel Composition Server for PDF. In this lesson, you will be creating and editing settings files for the use in the iModel Composition Server. Creating and editing settings files will allow users to apply their plotting standards to selected files at plot time when using the iModel Composition Server. So, in this particular learning objective, you will learn how to create and edit an interplot settings file. What is an interplot settings file? Think of a settings file as a container that will merge your plotting standards together during print submission. A settings file will apply the correct microstation or AutoCAD pin table and also apply additional design scripts that are needed to resymbolize your plots. Basically, a settings file provides an easy and flexible way to define default plotting values for your plots and plot sets. You can basically use them to store plotting parameters so that they can be easily reused, enforce drawing standards, group together plotting parameters so that you can apply them to a specific plot or plot set, and assist novice users that aren't so familiar with the printing tools. In this exercise, you will create and edit an interplot settings file. So let's begin to create an interplot settings file. First, we need to use the interplot organizer to create or edit any existing settings files that you may have. Here we've been provided an IPS file or an interplot organizer plot set called editor.ips in our system admin plotting settings files folder. I can double click this editor.ips to open up interplot organizer or right click and choose open. When using the interplot organizer, the first thing you want to pay attention to is go to File, Print Setup. This gives you the ability to switch your printer to any plotter that you happen to have available to you because that plotter will provide you with your form sizes. It's best if you can have access to the ProjectWise Dynamic Composition Server printer, but we recognize and realize that because you may be disconnected from your ICS for PDF server, we can still use forms from a different device, and then we'll learn how to adjust those forms so that they're found on the dynamic composition server. If we go to Edit, Settings File, we have the choice of either applying a settings file, if we have some that already exist, creating a brand new settings file, which is what we will do in just a moment, and editing existing settings files if you need to make modifications or changes. So let's go ahead and create this settings file. So let's go ahead and hit create. We have various sections available to us. We will focus our attention on the iPlot section. If we highlight iPlot and hit create section and then edit section, this is the section that you will use for MicroStation CAD files and AutoCAD CAD files. Let's get ourselves familiar with the various tabs before we make our selections. First, we'll start with the Display tab. The Display tab allows us to turn on or off any particular display option that may be off or on in the CAD file. So for example, if you want to ensure that level symbology is on when printing, all you have to do is use the solid checkbox. If you want to ensure that text nodes or points are off, you can just empty the box as you see fit. This ensures that those display options will not plot when using Interplot Organizer. If it is shaded, like you see here, the information is picked up from the design file on whether or not that option should plot or not. We can also decide to turn off specific levels. So if you want to turn off a specific level, you could say level 1 or the named level as an example, and decide to turn it on or off. We can deal with the layout. The layout will decide exactly how we want that sheet to lay out on the piece of paper. So we can choose from the form size, and remember your form size, once again, these forms that are listed here are driven by the particular device found when you are using the Interplot Organizer. So we would prefer you to use the ProjectWise Dynamic Composition Server, But once again, if you are disconnected from that plotter, it's okay. We can work around that issue for now. So you can choose to plot based off any particular form size here, or you could choose none as an example, but we can get into that in a little more detail. You can choose, say, a full paper size. So let's say I decide to use the 11 by 17 form size that's available to me right now with this particular Canon plotter. I can maximize that print if I so choose. I can center it, and I could decide to use a rotation angle if I wanted to. Let's focus on area. Area is the amount of content we will find if we want to use a particular shape, perhaps. So I can describe a plot shape. That shape can either be in the master or in the reference or both. You can decide there. I can hit add and choose the level name. I can decide its color, its weight, and its style. And then we can make a decision on what to do with that shape. If we have one matching shape, then we would keep the radio button selected on create one plot from the first matching shape. But if we have like cut sheets, then we'd want to select create one plot for each matching shape. Perhaps your files don't have a standard and you're forced to use a fit. So I could use a fit based on all elements, but you have to be careful with fits. Find yourself with elements zoomed far out in the view. But if this is all you have, then you can use that to describe the plot area. Once again, you can decide whether to fit based off the master, fit off of the both, or just fit off of the references, depending on how you have things set up. Basically, do a fit to all elements by selecting all the various types here. So if I leave this with all the various elements in that plot, it will fit to all the elements within the drawing file. And then general. If we look at the general tab, you'll notice that we have the workspace and work set locations for a managed workspace. That should only be set if you are using a workspace within a plot organizer outside of ProjectWise Explorer. If you're using ProjectWise Explorer and using a managed workspace, you need not fill out these areas. Do not fill out the workspace. Do not fill out the work set. All that information is assigned to the folder at plot time, and our products will pick up what the workspace and work sets are. Same goes for any V8i workspace assignments as well. This need not be filled out if you're integrated with between your ProjectWise Explorer and your Interplot Organizer. If you're plotting outside of ProjectWise, then yes, you need to fill these areas out with the name of the workspace, name of the work set, or any user workspace information for V8i. Now, we give you the ability to assign a color table, which you can browse and go select that information. You can go select your design script or feature table if you have some. You can go get the MicroStation pin table as well. So when we get ready to get started with our exercise, let's go ahead and make the decision to create a settings file that will use, say, an 11 by 17 form size. So let's go back and edit section. You will place a solid check in the use full paper size option. You can navigate down to 11 by 17 as the actual form size. But remember, this particular form name may not be found on the ProjectWise Dynamic Composition Server printer, but we can adjust that. Don't worry. We'll choose to maximize the sheet and center it at this particular time. We'll go to the area and we'll cut sheets. So let's say, for example, in our drawings, we have one file with multiple sheets inside the drawing. If that's the case, we need to search for each sheet model found in the drawing. You can click this little question mark here and click the box for search models, and it'll bring up a quick help dialog tool to help you decide how to assign and search for specific sheets. You can use wildcards in the name of the sheet models, or I can just use our logical search model variable. In all caps, IP underscore sheet, DEF, short for definition, underscore models. And I will set it to plot at the sheet. I go to General, then I can come and browse for my design script. This gives me the ability to use what we've learned in previous videos. So I can browse for my ProjectWise design script. So in ProjectWise, I will use this pull down and go to System Admin, Plotting, Design Scripts. And I can use my linestyle.pin that we created earlier. And I can also go and use the MicroStation pin table that we created as well. So if I hit Browse, System Admin, Plotting, Pin Tables, select the black and white TBL that you created earlier. This would give me the ability now to plot with the correct PLT-CFG plotting standards that are not supported in Interplot, now that we've used our black and white pin table. We can select OK and choose Save As. Click Change. Go to System Admin, Plotting, and highlight the Settings File folder. Let's give this settings file a name. Since this settings file is black and white and uses the 11 by 17 format, that's what we'll call it. Black and white 11 by 17 dot set. Let's click OK and save. This concludes the lesson on creating and editing settings files. Let's review what's been learned. During this lesson, you've learned how to create and edit an Interplot settings file. The next video will provide techniques on how to convert a binary settings file to an ASCII file.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.